Ymir's decision to abandon Historia was one of the most consequential decisions in Attack on Titan. It gave Reiner and Bertholdt a second chance at destroying Paradis. It handed Marley the Jawed Titan, and it prevented the scouts from learning the truth. Ymir abandoned Historia and put the entire island in danger because she didn't want Reiner and Bertholdt dying for her actions. This decision embodied Ymir's character. She's a walking contradiction, someone who's selfishly self-sacrificing. Ymir sacrificed herself and the island to save Historia by going with the warriors, then later sabotaged those same warriors because she wanted to say goodbye to Historia. Then, once Eren revealed his powers and showed that he could protect the island, she abandoned the island because she felt obligated to save Reiner and Bertholdt. What all of this means is, if Ymir stays behind, she won't be on Paradis' side, but Historia's side, and would have no problem jeopardizing Paradis to save Historia. Ymir is also a very perceptive person. She saw through Historia's martyrdom mentality and Sasha's fake formality. What would she think of characters like Yelena and Zeke? Would she see through their lies and uncover their motive? Would Ymir approve of the Rumbling Plan and Historia being pregnant? Would it ever come to that point with Ymir's presence? I am your host and then Hunter, and I'll answer those questions and more in this video on What If Ymir Stayed Behind. As Ymir follows the scouts home, Bertholdt and Reiner are getting swarmed by Titan. Originally, Ymir saved Bertholdt, but this time he's grabbed by a Titan. Bertholdt desperately tries to transform, but he's still exhausted from the first battle. The Titans grabbing Reiner notice the exposed humans and change target. Reiner uses that chance to break free, but now he has a choice. Either he dies alongside Bertholdt, or he escaped to Shiganshina. Bertholdt tearfully shouts at Reiner to leave him behind. He must survive to save Ani. Reiner flees. He barely makes it to Shiganshina before collapsing in exhaustion and crying for his best friend. Zeke then takes Reiner back to Marley, and Reiner's executed for failing the mission, and Porkel receives the Armored Titan. But just before Reiner is killed, he tells Zeke about Eren, and that Eren probably learned the truth from Ymir. Because Marley lost a colossal jaw and female Titan, the Mideast Alliance forms and declares war on Marley. Back in Paradis, Bertholdt was eaten just as Reiner fled, but then something unusual happened. The Titan that ate Bertholdt reverts to a human, only to be eaten by another Titan. It creates a vicious cycle, until a Titan shifter masters the colossal Titan in an instant, and destroys the other pure Titans. We'll call him X, and we'll get back to him later. Back in the walls, the royal government demands Ymir stand trial for hiding valuable information and helping Reiner and Bertholdt. Ymir's decision to help the warriors nearly ended the Survey Corps and killed countless members of the garrison. Unlike with Eren, Ymir actually betrayed humanity, and it's impossible to defend her without appearing complicit. But Erwin knows Ymir has invaluable information, and he can't risk losing her in a rigged trial, so he rejects the government's demands, and the uprising begins. Ymir tells the scouts everything she knows about the outside world, and she describes her own experiences living in Marley. After Historia learns about Ymir's childhood, she reflects on her own experiences as someone who'd sacrificed themselves for everyone, and realizes why Ymir was so determined to help her. Eren would struggle with the reveal. His self-worth comes from being special and being gifted the strength to save humanity. The reveal that the whole world wants to crush Aldea, and there's nothing he can do to stop it, would break him. Armin interrupts Eren's sulking by mentioning Grisha. Armin believes Grisha also learned the truth, but the question is how? And what exactly did he hide in the basement? But Ymir's mind goes somewhere else. Why did Grisha leave everything for Eren? In fact, where did Eren get his Titan powers from? She killed Reiner's comrade for her powers. Who did Eren kill for his? Once Ymir figures it out, she quickly changes the topic from Grisha to dealing with the royal government. If Eren learns he killed Grisha now, it would push him over the edge. Ymir had already told the scouts how to transfer Titan powers. If Armin kept thinking about Grisha, he would figure it out. Ymir's awkward topic change reminds Connie of the tower incident, and he asked her why she was mocking him then. She answers that it was to protect him from the truth, and if he kept talking, Reiner would have killed him. Ymir writes the rest of her story in a report, and it's sent to Erwin, who is heading to Walsina to meet with Pixis. The Scouts are declared enemies of humanity, much earlier than in the original. Erwin reveals Ymir's story to Pixis, but he's called to stand trial before the Scouts learn the Race family are the true ruling family. However, the idea of the entire world preparing to destroy Paradis and the royal government doing nothing about it is enough to persuade Pixis. He puts his faith in Erwin to find a way to avoid the civil war. Like in the original, Zachary sides with Erwin only because he hates the nobility. Because the Scouts know how Titan transferals work, using Eren as bait for Rod is too dangerous. But they still want to capture Rod, as despite all the information Ymir gave them, the founding Titan is still a mystery. Ymir was a normal citizen in Marley. She wouldn't know anything about the King's vow, or how to break it. All she knows is the founding Titan is what everything leads to. What all of this means is the Scouts have 3 objectives: capture Rod, expose the royal government, and place Historia on the throne. The winning strategy is avoiding a confrontation with Kenny until those objectives are completed. However, the last objective creates conflict with Historia and Ymir. When Levi first explains it, Ymir is silent. She waits for Historia's response, but then Levi chokes Historia and threatens her to accept. Ymir rips Historia out of Levi's hand before cutting her own hand and threatening to escape with Historia. Levi is furious now. He asks Ymir if Historia being free is worth Marley destroying the island. Before Ymir can say yes, Historia interrupts them and accepts Levi's plan. Even though Historia promised to live for herself, she can't accept everyone dying for her. Ymir pleads with Historia, telling her that even if they make her queen, they'll sacrifice her the second she's no longer useful. When her pleading fails, she offers to join the plan if she's appointed to Historia's guard. That way, she can protect her if they turn on her. Levi accepts. Erwin's trial plays out much like the original. Erwin tells them about Ymir's backstory, and after the nobles dismiss it, an MP breaks into the room and claims the armored and colossal titans have attacked, and they're being supported by the Marleyan military. After the nobles show their true colors, Zachary enters the room and everything plays out largely the same. The Scouts continue playing cat and mouse with the interior police until they uncover the location of the Race estate. Without hesitation, they launch a raid on it and capture Rod Rice. After digging around the house, they find something even more valuable: Rod's bag with all the serums intact. Because the identity of the Race family was a secret, Rod felt comfortable operating from his estate, which allowed the Scouts to capture him. However, Kenny isn't captured, and he goes into hiding after the uprising is complete. The king's illegitimacy and the world's secrets are revealed to the populace, which has mixed results. While some are happy that the corrupt nobles have been arrested, others are skeptical. They believe the story of Historia and Marley's intention to destroy the island is just a convenient excuse for the Scouts to take control of the walls. Despite Historia's coronation, unrest continues to brew, with people calling her a puppet of Erwin and demanding the reinstatement of King Fritz. In order to legitimize the new government, Erwin needs a victory, but he can't launch the expedition until either Eren or Ymir have mastered crystallization. And despite Hanji's strict training regimen, neither of them are making progress. Levi's squad is present at the training ground, and they're debating on using Rod's serum. They have 3 serums: armor, colossal, and normal. They ask Ymir about it, and while Ymir isn't sure of the details, she believes it can influence the type of Titan a person becomes. Ymir believes either the serum won't do anything, or it will give Eren the ability to create armor. Out of time, and almost out of options, they give Eren the armor serum. After drinking it, he transforms inside a cave and successfully crystallizes the entire cave. After Hanji gives the signal, Levi's squad celebrates as now they can retake Shiganshina. Eren thanks Ymir for her help, but is confused when she wishes him luck in the expedition, and states that she will be returning to Historia's side, and reminds everyone of her agreement with Levi. Levi argues that not retaking Shiganshina puts Historia in greater danger, but Ymir doesn't care. She calmly declares that she's a selfish person, and she wants to be by her side. Upon learning about Ymir's decision, Historia orders Ymir to participate in the expedition. Historia reminds Ymir that, since she abandoned the Krista persona, Ymir has to drop her selfish persona as well. After a back and forth, Ymir backs down and joins the expedition. In Walsina's prison, Rod is being interrogated for information, but he refuses to speak to anyone except Historia. Zachary proposes that they use the torture machine on Rod, and he promises that he'll get an answer within the hour, but naturally he's refused, and everyone agrees that letting Historia speak to Rod one-on-one is a horrible idea. So Rod is left to rot in the prison. They'll deal with him after they liberate Shiganshina. Erwin launches the expedition to liberate Shiganshina. The scouts are relieved to see Ymir. Her presence combined with Eren plus the new Thunder Spears should give them the advantage over the warriors. But upon arriving in Shiganshina, they find the city deserted. Even after sealing both gates, no one ambushes them. After waiting for some time, Erwin orders the scouts to stand guard, while Eren, Mikasa, and Armin look for their house. Once they find it, they launch the smoke flare and Erwin joins them. Even though Erwin knows the truth already, he's hoping Grisha's book will elaborate on how the founding titan was controlling everybody. To everyone's disappointment, Grisha's book repeats much of what Ymir told them, and doesn't give them information about unleashing the founding titan, or defeating Marley. But no one is more disappointed than Eren. Mikasa asks him if there's something wrong, but he tells her it's nothing. The scouts return in triumph. They had liberated Walmeria without a single casualty. Like in the original, the scouts receive accolades, and Eren kisses Historia's hand. We'll touch on what Eren sees later. Once the celebrations are complete, Erwin, Eren, and Ymir are called into a meeting. When they enter the room, they see all the higher-ups, including Historia and Zachary. After Erwin gives his report on how the mission went, and what they found in the basement, Zachary informs the trio that just before they returned, the garrison spotted a man limping towards the Trost district before collapsing. The man's clothes were tattered, and he was visibly malnourished. Upon closer inspection, they found titan marks on his eyes, and his cheeks had exposed flesh. The garrison brought the man inside the walls, and moved him underground. After doing first aid, the man was muttering to himself the entire time, ranting about a cowardly and traitorous king, and swearing to kill him. And just before he lost consciousness, he mentioned a name, Karl Fritz. According to Ymir's report, the Race family used to go by Fritz, and Karl Fritz fled the mainland after being defeated by Halos. So what is cowardly or traitorous about losing a battle? However, Eren, who was largely disinterested, perks up after hearing this. Zachary continues by offering two explanations on the Titan Shifter's origins. Either he's a Marleyan warrior or an Eldian revolutionary. Erwin stands up and says until they confirm the fate of Reiner and Bertholdt, it's safer to treat him as a spy. Ymir is silent, but becomes visibly uncomfortable with where the conversation is heading, especially when Zachary begins mentioning the two serums that they have. Zachary notices her discomfort and asks her to speak. She tells everyone how close Reiner and Bertholdt were to dying before she left them. Most likely the mystery Titan Shifter is one of the titans that Eren controlled, and they should learn which Titan Shifter he killed before they do anything drastic. Before anyone can respond, an NP bursts into the room and shouts that the Titan Shifter has woken up. Xavier wakes up, his head is throbbing and his memories a blur. For what felt like an eternity, he was a spectator in his own body, mindlessly roaming the earth without a purpose. Now, by some miracle, he escaped that hell, but he has no recollection of his old life, and doesn't understand for what purpose he was saved for. A guard notices Xavier's consciousness, and quickly leaves the room to report it. After a short time passes, Commander Pixis enters the room, and dismisses the guards so that he can have a private conversation with the Titan Shifter. Xavier Ymir tells Pixis his name, but tells him he doesn't remember anything else. Pixis had expected that much. Before entering the room, he quickly reviewed Ymir's report on her experience as a Titan. He's not surprised Xavier's memory is jumbled. Pixis attempts to jog his memories. He tells Xavier about Marley's policy towards Eldian prisoners, and that he probably roamed the earth as a pure Titan for decades, until he ate a Titan shifter. Xavier visibly winces after hearing the word Marley. He tells Pixis that he remembers fighting Marley as a soldier, and then being tossed over the walls. He remembers eating a human, and then transforming into the Colossal Titan. Pixis is relieved by the answer. If he's truly the Colossal, then Marley lost their most powerful warrior. Pixis leaves to report what he learned. Xavier remains silent as he leaves. He remembers everything now, but he must decide which parts are safe to reveal. Until then, he'll continue to fake amnesia. Ymir speaks to Historia alone, telling her that Zachary plans on feeding Xavier to a scout. Ymir begs Historia to help him, as it isn't fair that Xavier experienced hell roaming the earth as a Titan, only to be killed the instant he escapes that hell. Historia had told Ymir to stop acting selfish and to embrace her true nature, and this is Ymir doing just that. She actually sympathizes with him and wants to save him. Historia is happy to hear it, but isn't sure how she can intervene as a puppet queen. Unless she offers a better alternative, no one will listen. Ultimately, Historia would convince the military to spare Xavier, as once they confirmed he possesses the Colossal Titan, the question became whether they should trust an outsider with the Colossal. Historia argued that Xavier mastered the Colossal in an instant, and he has no reason to help Marley. If they kill him, they'd have to wait until the next user masters the Colossal, and that would leave them vulnerable to an invasion. She also argued the morality of killing an innocent person after he spent decades in torment. The military allows Xavier to live, but until he proves himself trustworthy, he'll be kept under watch and his movements will be restricted. A year after the events of the uprising and Shiganshina, the scouts visit the ocean. It's a bit more anticlimactic, as Ymir already described how it looks. The scouts still play in the beach, but we don't get the iconic scene of Eren looking out into the horizon and questioning whether he'd have to kill everyone on the other side of the ocean. Inside the walls, Historia finally speaks with Rod, and it's mainly to tell him that she's abandoned the Krista persona he gave her. Right now, Rod is a useless prisoner, as through Grisha's books and Eren's memories, the scouts finally learned how the King's Vow works, so any intelligence that Rod could give them has no value now. Rod is left to rot in the prison, along with the other nobles. A few months after seeing the ocean, the volunteers arrive in Paradis. Even though Erwin is leading the scouts, the initial negotiations play out largely the same. Paradis rapidly modernizes with the new technology, and the scouts quickly befriend the volunteers. But Zeke's offer for diplomacy is met with different results. Eren didn't bond with Historia in this version, so he doesn't come to her defense, but he still rejects Zeke's plan on principle. Ymir, however, passionately defends Historia and offers Rod as an alternative sacrifice. Most of the council would prefer Historia not be sacrificed, but they're wondering whether they could trust Rod with the Beast Titan. Erwin responds to them by saying that Rod would simply be a key for Eren. They won't need him in a combat role. It should be noted that Erwin doesn't trust Zeke at all, and he believes the plan offered is at best a stopgap until Paradis can actually make allies. I feel like now is a good time to explain what Eren's mentality is, as it will become very important in later parts. In Season 3, before Eren was reminded that just being born makes you special, he believed he was only special because he could save everyone. That's why he broke down in the cavern and was depressed after hearing the first part of Shadis' story, he realized not only wasn't he special, but those who were special died for him. In this what if, Eren remains in that state until he sees into the future. Images of the rumbling, while terrifying to him at first, fills him with purpose. Eren realizes that he is special. He's destined to save everyone through the rumbling, and that's why he was born into this world. In chapter 68, Eren describes how he began to accept people dying for him because he believed he was special. In this what if, not only does Eren accept it, he even embraces it. He's the one that's gonna save the world, so it's only natural that people would die for him. Basically, Eren has a god complex and believes it's his destiny to save everyone. Just like in the original series, Eren pretends to support the euthanasia plan to win over Yelena and Zeke. However, because the battle for Shiganshina never happened, Floch isn't there to support him, so Eren requires someone else's aid in seizing control of the government. He reaches out to two people, Kenny and Xavier. Kenny has been in hiding since the uprising, and for most of that time, he was wandering the walls aimlessly, looking for a new purpose in life. And then he found it. He learned about Zeke's plan to unleash the Founding Titan, even though Zeke is keeping the details vague until he meets Eren. Just the prospect of it excites Kenny. He may never achieve inner peace or see the world from Uri's perspective, but now, he can go beyond Uri and wield power beyond comprehension. In part 2, I'll explain the backstory and motivations of the Titan Shifter Xavier and how he ties into Eren's plan. We'll touch on the war against Marley and how it changes with Porco possessing the Armored Titan and Ymir possessing the Jaw Titan. And we'll explain how Eren's attempt at taking over Paradis changes with Kenny in place of Floch.